Today we're talking about modern relationships. Now, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single, whichever situation you're in, it's absolutely fine. I put a post on social media where I said that we almost need a relationship status that says, I don't know what the hell is going on, right? It's this confusing space. Modern relationships, as we'll show through some statistics, ideas, studies, have become more and more complicated. So if you want to get some tips, now I haven't got all the answers. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I've got all the secrets to a happy relationship in the modern world, in the digital age. But I want to share some insights and ideas with you that I've been reading, that I've been hearing, that I've been researching, that I've personally experienced myself as well, and I know people have had experiences of. I want to share those with you because I really feel that in this community, as we all know, we're trying to just share ideas that can revolutionize and transform various areas of our life. If you've never tuned in before, my name is Jay Shetty. I'm your host. I'm a former monk, and today I'm talking to you about modern relationships. How many times have you had this situation? You've messaged someone, maybe you met someone at a friend's party or evening out, maybe you went out for dinner with a group of people, you found someone that you connect with, you found someone that you liked, you sent them a message, and they didn't respond. Maybe they didn't respond for 24 hours. Maybe they didn't respond for 24 days. Maybe they didn't respond for a whole month. Maybe they never responded at all. Second question, how many of you have ever struggled of knowing which platform to contact people on? Which one do you like? Now give me an example. When you've connected with someone, even if it's just a friend, you think that you can get to know someone, which platform do you go to? Which one do you turn to? Which one do you think is the least creepy, right? It's Halloween today, so maybe you're going to go out and meet someone tonight. What's going to be the least creepiest platform on Halloween to message someone after you just connected with them at a Halloween party? Let me know your thoughts. I want to hear your ideas. Now, I'm going to share with some interesting statistics. I'm sharing some statistics I'm reading from this fantastic book. I can't believe it's taken me this long to pick up a book. You're always asking me to recommend books. I love this book. It's by Aziz Ansari. I've just been flicking through it, reading some great tips. Everything I'm sharing, a lot of the statistics I'm sharing, not all of them, some of them today are from this book called Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. It's brilliant. I definitely recommend taking a look at it and getting a copy as well if you want to know. And today we're talking about these insights that we can learn from. So this really blew my mind, right? This was people asking people on a date. Methods of asking, phone call, right? So you guys have been debating between phone call and text. People over the age of 30, 52% preferred phone call, right? People under 30, only 23% preferred a phone call. Now, face-to-face as the method of asking. How many of you just prefer face-to-face? How many of you actually want someone to ask you out on a date face-to-face? Let me know. Write down face-to-face in the comment section right now. If that's someone like you, press the like and love button if you're the person who wants to be asked out face-to-face. Now, imagine your answer was going to be no. Would you still want to be asked face-to-face? So the amazing studies show people over the age of 30, only 28% want to be asked out face-to-face. Under 30, it goes up to 37% of people want to be asked out face-to-face. Over 30, text. Only 8% want to be texted. Under 30, 32% want to be texted. And email, over 30, 7% of people over 30 would like to be emailed. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever, in the history of emailing, only 7% of people have ever asked anyone out on email. And under 30, only 1% would like to be asked on email. It's incredible, right? If you look at those methods of asking, the most popular is, of course, face-to-face in both over and under 30s. Phone call, again, extremely popular. We all want face-to-face, but if we don't like the person, we don't want it to be face-to-face because we want to avoid that awkward situation. Yes or no, true or false? Now, in this book, Modern Romance, Aziz Ansari talks about a lot of trends, a lot of changes in how romance has evolved from olden times versus new times. He's wrote it, co-authored it with a sociologist as well, and it's got some brilliant insights, and I wanted to share some of them, not because I think they teach us what's right and wrong, it teaches us what's changed about doing that. So one of the things I really wanted to look at is that he went to an old people's home in Lower East Side, and he spoke to 36 seniors, right? A senior people's home. And he found that 14 out of the 36 people he spoke to found someone in their neighborhood, street, or building that they ended up getting married to or partnering up with, right? These people were in the neighborhood. These people, a third of people coupled up with people in a 5-block radius from where they grew up. Now, I just want you for a moment to think about if you married someone, or if you ended up partnering up with someone, or living with someone, or going out with someone, spending the rest of your life with someone who lived in a 5-block radius of the house you grew up in. Not where you went to university, not where you went to school, but where you actually grew up. Can you imagine how crazy it would be if you married or ended up spending the rest of your life with one of those people, right? 1/6 of people ended up marrying people from the same block, and 1/8 of people ended up marrying people from the same building. This was from a group of 5,000 participants, right, across the United States. Now, it's incredible how times have changed. Today, most people are finding people outside of their towns. People go away for university, meet people there. People go away and travel for work. It's incredible how the dynamics of our relationships have changed and what that adds to our relationships as well, right? That's the interesting bit. Now, it shows there's some interesting statistics around here as well. This discussion isn't about what's right and wrong. It's about how things have changed. It's about how things have moved along. If you look at that, people before were just going outside their door and finding people who lived in the same vicinity, in the same area, maybe had common friends, maybe their parents were friends, maybe they all knew each other in the neighborhood. Whereas now we're talking about relationships completely changing and shifting to actually finding people internationally. I just want you to think about for a moment, and I want you to write and respond in the comment section, how many of you have actually found someone, or you know your friends have found people actually internationally, right? It's been totally different. The game has changed. I think one of the key things is that cutting down the time of getting to know someone. So it's really interesting. I'll share some statistics actually, Kevin, on this. That when you're interested, it's said that we spend 80%, right? 80% of people spend their time internet stalking before they meet someone, right? When you're interested. So sometimes when someone's interested, they take a delay in getting back to you because they want to know about you. Now, I think today you can learn so much about a person online, and therefore the way we present ourselves online, the way we come across online is so important because that person's got that to look at. Statistics show that 80% of us do internet stalking when we're interested in someone. So when we're interested, we take some time to find out about that person. I think the quicker we can shift from doing that research to actually meeting the person gives us a lot more insights, a lot more quicker. Today, if we're taking a long time, we're speaking to people for maybe a month online, we're like texting people for a long time, then when you meet them, it's kind of like you've wasted all that time and you almost feel you've invested a significant amount of time. You've got a higher sunk cost bias. You think, oh my God, I've been talking to this person online for this long. You know, I need to invest some more time. The quicker you can meet someone, after doing your research, of course, gives you a lot more insights. Now, when we're not interested in everyone, when we're not interested in someone, we all want the honesty. If someone's not interested in us, we want them to be honest with us, right? We say that, and we say we'd prefer honesty. But when you don't like someone, how many of you are comfortable enough to go up to someone and say, actually, I'm not interested in you? Press like or love if you've ever struggled with that, where someone's approached you and actually you're scared of actually saying to them, actually, I'm not interested. It's not going to work for me, right? This is not what I'm looking for. Aziz's book goes into talking about the profile photos that actually draw attention. Now, this is absolutely hilarious when you actually read through this. And it talks about how women's pictures that get more attention, etc., are not the ones where people are smiling to camera, but it's where there's slightly a flirty look to camera. And I'm not going to do a flirty look to you on camera. It may look a bit weird, or maybe I should. I don't know. But it's said that when women don't smile to camera and actually have a slightly flirtier look looking into the camera, that's when they're more attractive. Also, it's said from a higher angle. Now you see these, maybe some of you have mastered this extended arm. Now, but for men, it's funny because the thing that works actually is looking away from camera. The kind of reflective philosopher look seems to be more attractive rather than when a man looks straight into the camera. So interesting, so strange, and so weird to talk about our habits. But that's why we become fixated with how we present ourselves online, because people take it so seriously. And therefore, creating a connection in person and creating a connection on message is very different. How many times have you ever felt chemistry with someone on a phone through a bit of messaging and flirting randomly and not felt it when you actually meet them in person? Right? It can happen that way around. Rarely do you find it's not on the phone and then they have it in person. It's usually the other way around. Press the like or love button if you've experienced that. So I wanted to share some more insights with you around this. Now, it's said that a lot of the time in the past, people generally got married around the age of 22. They got married a lot earlier. Today, the average age for a woman is 27. The average age for a man is 29, and the general age is 30, right? Where people settle down, start living with people, cohabitating for longer periods of time. The reason is because there's this thing that sociologists called emerging adulthood, which has taken our time. And I actually think that this is so significant. And looking at the research, it also shows that people in the past didn't get this. This is that emerging adulthood piece. It's the piece about finding yourself. It's about exploring different careers, exploring different countries, really understanding yourself better, right? If you think about yourself as 21 or 22, how many of you felt mature enough to settle down? How many of you even felt mature enough to do anything? I mean, how well do you know yourself at that age? And it said that previous cultures didn't have that phase, whereas now we have that emerging adulthood phase where people take their time, they have multiple relationships, they travel the world, they're working in different jobs, different careers, and taking that time to find themselves. And I really wanted to talk about the importance of knowing yourself, understanding yourself as being a key thing for modern relationships before walking into one. It's kind of like, it's finding yourself before you start finding the other person. And understanding yourself before you try and understand another person saves you a lot of time. Imagine you're trying to understand yourself and understand someone at the same time. That just causes issues. You don't know what you want for yourself, you don't know what they want, and you don't know what they want from you, and you don't know what you need to give to, I mean, it's complicated, right? It's super, super complicated. And we always hear this, find yourself, know who you are. Like, what does that actually mean? So let me break that down for you. What it actually means is knowing what priorities are there in your life. What's the focus in your life? What is it that you really want to achieve? What is it that really matters to you? What is it that is of deep priority and focus for you to feel fulfilled and satisfied in life? Because then when you go looking around for someone, then when you meet someone, you definitely know what you're looking for rather than having a criteria. People always said, make a list of what you want in someone. Scrap that. Make a list of what you want, right? Make a list of what you want in life, not what a list that you want in someone. Because you may say, I want someone who's like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. But if you don't know what you're chasing, if you don't know what you're looking for in life, then you're not even sure. That list that you could be looking for is completely counterintuitive. I hope that makes sense, right? Don't build a list of what you want in someone. Build a list of what you want in life. That will help you understand if someone is right for your life or not. Michelle says some people would never have a relationship if they need to wait till they found themselves. True, Michelle. So I'm not saying that you ever get to a stage. Like, I'll clarify that. Thanks for raising that. You never get to a stage where you've found yourself, right? It's a complete evolution. It's an ongoing journey. But the point is that that journey has to be simultaneous with trying to find someone else. When you find someone who to complete you or to fill in the gaps, that always leads to insecurity. It leads to challenges. It leads to that person feel like you're draining them, that you're depending on them. And it pulls away. Rather than enhancing each other, you demand from each other. And that's the difference between being in a relationship where two people kind of know themselves, not that we ever know ourselves fully, kind of know themselves, and then are trying to connect, as opposed to when you're hoping that that person's going to solve everything you're doing. Jessica, what about face-to-face rejection? Finding someone who you have a chemistry live is so hard, but live we're conditioned to not be negative, so perhaps the intermediary of online may be helping more people be more rejecting. I'm just trying to understand your question, Jessica. Thanks for sharing it. What I'm understanding is that the online space allows you to reject or accept quicker. That's definitely true. It's definitely got its benefits. I'm not against the benefits of online dating at all. But I'm just saying that if things are connecting, if things are working, try and meet, because at the end of the day, that's how you're going to hopefully spend most of your relationship actually in person. Shruti, is it viable to find a partner through online portals? Statistics show it is. Statistics show it's huge. Now, there's still a bit of a stigma attached to it, but statistics show it is. Now, it does have its dark side too, and we all know about that. And that's why there's no formula for love, just as no formula for online dating or making money or whatever it is. But there definitely statistics show that it is promising, right? Anna, I mean, what if you're in a long-distance relationship? The long-distance relationship, if you've ever been in one, and you'll verify this, you'll validate this, press the like or love button, are probably the hardest relationships you can put yourself into. When you're getting into a long-distance relationship, know one thing for sure, it is going to be hard work. If you're not ready for hard work, if the other person's not cut out for hard work, don't even start it, because it is going to be a challenge. It's going to be emotionally challenging, mentally challenging. There's going to be insecurity problems. There's going to be so many challenges. So first of all, accept, first step of a long-distance relationship, accept it is going to be one of the toughest things you've ever done. Second, set spaces, times, areas know when you're going to connect and stick to it. Don't make promises that you can't. Don't be like, when you first start going out, how many times have you ever had this happen to you? Oh, I'm going to call you every day. I'm going to call you every day at this time. We're going to speak every day before we go to sleep. We're going to speak every day in the morning, and then it never happens, right? Has that ever happened to you? Right? If that's ever happened to you, then you know that that lets you down. So don't do that. Right? Don't do that. Don't make false promises. Really understand. Actually say, you know what, I need a couple of weeks just to settle in, figure out what my routine is like, figure out how I'm going to function, and then I'll know how to respond. Then we can set some guidelines. But it's important to set some parameters that you can stick to. Tommy, I have a problem. My spouse is always on her phone and she never leaves it unguarded. Is it reasonable to question it, or are my insecurities getting the best of me? Tommy, thank you so much for raising that point. I actually wanted to share some statistics about mobile use. So let me take a quick look at this. Let me find it here. Here we go. 25% of married people, right, says that they text each other when they're at home together. That's just got to go, right? If you're living with someone, even if it's just a partner, you're not married, you're living in the same space, you're living with your partner, do not text each other in the same space. Please don't do that. Unless you live in like a 10 to 15 bedroom mansion and you're on opposite ends, there is never an excuse to have to text each other when you live in the same place, right? Even if someone's downstairs, shout to them, just connect with them, like have a conversation. Don't do that in the same space, even if you want something from downstairs, right? Don't do that, right? What happens is, how many of you have ever done this? Your partner goes out and you want them to grab some milk, etc. You'll message them and you just say the word milk, or you message them just with the word cereal, or you message them just with the word chocolates, right? Whatever it is. That's cool, right? Absolutely fine, that's normal. The problem is when we start abbreviating in real life. So when you want to talk to someone and you're talking to someone in your home, you're on your phone and then you just go milk, and you say that just as you would on a message, but you're saying it verbally, face to face, communicating with that individual. Don't abbreviate real life, right? Don't do that. Because what happens is you're losing that chemistry, you're losing that connection, you're losing an opportunity to connect. And what happens is you start applying that same instant, fast mechanism of communication into things that actually matter. So yeah, it's fine to ask for milk like that, it's fine to ask for cereal like that, it's fine to ask for chocolate, whatever it is. It's fine to ask for all of that stuff like that, but don't start abbreviating real conversations. Don't start limiting the characters, right? Don't start tweeting in real life, right? Don't start talking in tweets. Don't start talking in limited messaging, because it's ruining, it's taking away. Now, just to go back to your point, Tommy, 25% of married people, or people partnered up, living in the same place, they actually feel their partner is distracted and felt disheartened by their partner being on the phone. 25% of people. You're not alone, Tommy, right? It's normal. I think it's really important, and I recommend this more and more and more. It's important in your home to set no technology times and zones. Just set guidelines. It makes it easier. Like, I think it's so much more fun to eat and sleep with people, right? Don't use technology in the kitchen. Don't use technology in the bedroom, right? Why would you do that? But then have spaces where you do use technology, because we all need to do it. But it's so fulfilling when you have spaces and times in your homes when everyone's agreed on something. It is reasonable, because it's allowing you to connect better. You're doing it so that you can have more of a relationship. You're not doing it so you can still sit in the same room and be distracted. And I think that works both ways. I know a lot of guys who'd like the space to play on their Xbox or their PlayStation whenever they feel like it, but then they don't want, their partner to do something else on technology. So we can't have double standards, right? You can't have a standard and a routine and a rule for yourself, for the other person, and not for yourself. It's so important to have mutually respectful guidelines that work for both of you. And many of you are saying, oh God, that sounds a bit boring. No, it doesn't. It's going to allow you to connect more if you actually want to spend time with the person rather than just spend time with your phone, right? If that's what you're actually looking for. Nitin, is online dating destroying love? Not statistically. It's not. If you use it properly, if you're using it correctly, it can't, because ultimately it's about being human through digital. See, the problem is not technology, it's the way we use it, right? It's the way we use it. If we let it use us, if we use it wrongly, not consciously, then of course it's going to ruin it. Dan, any thoughts on these stages people have invented? Dating, seeing each other, going out. Are people too used to being independent? My advice is clarify. Just clarify. Have that conversation. It may be awkward, but if that conversation's awkward, then maybe that person's undecided and wants to bring it up too. It's so much nicer when you both know what the hell is going on. I'm sure you can relate to that. I can relate to that, right? When both people understand where they stand with each other. It's kind of like applying for a job. When you're applying for a job and you haven't heard back from the employer, it's more nerve-wracking than when you know it says processing. you're happy with knowing it's processing. Same with why websites, apps, and everything have that 100% thing now. We all want to know where we're at. Are we at 10%? Are we at 50%? Are we at 60%? Are we at 99%? Why is it taking so long on 99%, right? We all want to know. We want to know where on that dial we are. So same in relationships. It's great to know where you stand with the other person. Don't leave them in the dark, and don't let them leave you in the dark, because all it does is create more anxiety. Right? Unless it's the starting stages and you're enjoying the mystery of it and you're enjoying that space, that's great. If that's you, you're enjoying mystery, you enjoy that kind of stuff, awesome. I'm just saying, if you're feeling nervous about it, Dan, it's great to actually establish what that is. I think different people, I think that makes sense. Dating, seeing each other, going out, it is different, right? It's not that as soon as you go out with someone that you're going out, right? I get that. And therefore, it's just important to know where you're at. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, if I ask that person, I'm going to scare them. Just set your expectation right. It's so much easier to cut poor relationships early on than it is to get dragged into something and live with it for longer, right? That's the biggest mistake that we make in relationships. We don't cut poor relationships early on because of hope, because of belief, whatever it is. And the funny thing is that challenge is only going to get harder. All right, Heidi says, why do men hate commitment? Not all men hate commitment, Heidi. It's probably because men, psychology shows men sometimes take a little bit longer to mature, etc. So ages really matter for men and women both as well. Brilliant to see this. Pankaj is asking a big question. What is love? Now that's, I'm not even sure I can define it, but love at the very deepest core level is a complete, selfless, unconditional offering to another person, right? Wanting other person's happiness beyond one's own happiness is actually love, because it's not about you, right? That's when love is real. It's not about you. It's about making someone else happy. It's about seeing them happy. Now, we don't really connect with that anymore because we don't see it as much anymore. It used to be said, in ancient wisdom, that the closest thing to that was a love that a mother has for a child, where that investment, that self-sacrifice, that complete dedication and devotion, right, was there. But today we're less connected with that. So today love has become more about respecting each other's priorities, understanding and valuing each other's goals and ambitions, and doing that mutually. Now, one of the biggest things that I talk about is that respecting each other's priorities is more powerful than getting the other person to compromise for you. So if you're forcing the other person to like what you like, and they're forcing you to like what they like, you end up just having all this tension and friction. Whereas actually, if you respect their priorities and they respect yours, growing together requires growing individually. That's what we need to realize. When you're growing individually, separate from each other, then when you come together, you're going to grow each other. Whereas if you're just not growing individually and you're just trying to grow together, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Jay, do you have any thoughts on how chivalry is shifting through the generations during dating and during marriage? The open door, guys pays for meal, flowers, etc. seems to be fading. I think it's great when both people are competing on the positive stuff, not competing on the negative stuff. I think it's unbelievable when we have relationships, when men and women both are trying to surprise each other, create the events. Now, I did this short video talking about the 5 love languages. Now, if you don't know about the 5 love languages, a great book by Gary Chapman. To be honest, it's still one of my favorite explanations of how love works. And I wanted to share some of those with you today because I think it's important when we're talking about chivalry, when we're talking about modern day romance, the 5 love languages. So there are 5 ways in which people like to be loved, right? These are the 5 ways. Are you ready? Tell me which one you are. First one, words of affirmation, encouragement, acknowledgement, recognition, right? How do you communicate with those people? You've got to encourage, affirm, appreciate, empathize, listen actively. Actions to take: send an unexpected note, text, or card. Encourage genuinely and often, right? So it's not just the big stuff, it's genuinely and often. That's what people want. The things to avoid: non-constructive criticism, not recognize or appreciating effort. So if you're going to criticize or correct, make sure it's positive. Make sure you're giving a solution. And remember that you've got to recognize and appreciate the effort, not just the result. People with words of affirmation. Think about it. If your partner, future partner, people that you're connecting with right now are people who need words of affirmation. Second way of being loved: physical touch, right? How to communicate: non-verbal, use body language, touch to emphasize love, right? Definitely one of the ways. This is really important to some people. They feel intimate when they have that. Now, there's a big difference between a love language is physical touch versus someone who, who just wants to be touched. There's a big difference. So knowing that requires your maturity. Third one, receiving gifts. Thoughtfulness, make them a priority, speak purposefully, actions to take, give thoughtful gifts. Thoughtful gifts. See, it's not just gifts, it's thoughtful gifts. People who like gifts want things that are personal, things that connect with only them, right? Small things matter in a big way. Express gratitude when receiving a gift from these people as well. Forgetting special occasions is a no-go area. Unenthusiastic gift receiving is a no-go area if they're giving you gifts as well. See, it works both ways. The fourth love language is called quality time. Uninterrupted, focused conversations, one-on-one time is critical. Find ways to make this exciting. You may be someone who says, actually, I find it really awkward just having a one-to-one conversation. Create a new way to do that quality time. Maybe you do an activity together. Maybe you go out somewhere together. Create special moments together, take walks, do small things with your partner, whoever it is. Weekend getaways are a huge win. Distractions when spending time together. See, people sometimes do this. So I know a lot of guys or a lot of people who say, oh, but I just took her away for a weekend. Sometimes it's the more often periods than it is the big stuff. And I think we've got lost in that. I think it's become about the big holiday. It's about the 2 days of not using my phone, but I use my phone at every time at dinner. Right? It's forgetting that actually the person's looking for that quality hour every day rather than the quality 48 hours away. Or they maybe want both, right? Maybe you're in that situation. Get to know that person, become more conscious about it. And the fifth one is acts of service. Use action phrases like I'll help. They want to know you're with them and partnered with them. Do chores together or make them breakfast. Go out your way to help alleviate their daily workload, right? Making an effort in a way that helps them with acts of service. Making the requests of others as a higher priority is a no-go area. So the 5 love languages, great place to start. Gary Chapman's book, definitely recommend taking a look at that. Now, we're talking about your finding yourself stage. Now, 44% of the US population is single. 2.4 million Americans use online dating. And 53% of singles say that the smile is the most attractive feature of another person. This part was really interesting when I was looking at statistics. It says that it takes women 1 hour for them to make an impression. When they meet a man, it takes 1 hour for them to decide what their impression of a person is. It takes men only 15 minutes to take an impression of a woman, right? These are statistics, of course. You may be different. You may not fit inside of those as well, but it's definitely interesting to look at. 63% of the people met a spouse or a partner through a mutual friend, right? That's the way people are finding love. Clarify that. Finding love, finding a partner, 2 different things. The interesting thing is in olden days, people were looking for finding companions. They were finding about someone they could build life with. Today, we're looking for someone that we love, that's our soulmate, that we want this connection with. Its expectation is very much changed, hence it takes us longer and may seem harder. The number one argument between partners is about money. That's why it's so important to create financial goals, financial clarity and emotional clarity as well around money, right? Definitely something to look at and focus on. Sarah, I really need help with this. I've been in love with a person who doesn't love me back for so long. Should I go on with the unrequited love? Now, it's really interesting because if you're in that situation and it's only being prolonged, it's something that you've got to let go of. You've got to move on from, because if that love isn't being reciprocated, it's just something that's going to drag you behind. It's not going to let you move on. And love is something that we need to give and feel back as well from that individual. So definitely something, Sarah, to move on from for sure. Alison, met the hubby online 23 years later, still loving each other. It's a lot of work. Awesome. Yes, of course it is. And that's what I think is partly the challenge. Partly the challenge is this Hollywood version of love, or this romantic version of love, this picture of it being fairy tale-like that has been so embedded in us in the movies we grew up in, the cartoons we watched, or everything it was. And now facing reality, it's kind of like the bubble that's been burst of corporate careers, where people thought that living a certain career would make them happy, and they realized that it's very different today. Relationships are kind of similar to that. So I wanted to share with you a few tips and themes now that we're coming towards the end of our session. The first thing is cut poor relationships early on. If it's not working early on, just cut it. Don't fake yourself that hope. Don't believe someone will change. That's the biggest mistake I've seen people make. Believing that someone will change because of you, right? If they've not changed in a short period of time, it's very unlikely unless something massive happened. And you've got to ask yourself, are you ready to wait for that? And more so, you've got to ask yourself, are you able to accept if they never changed? Right, Ashley, how do you ask your partner to spend time with you without sounding needy? Right, biggest fear, right? We're talking about Halloween, we're talking about fear. Why did I take relationships today? Because part of our communication, one of our biggest fear is in relationships. How do you ask your partner for spending time without sounding needy? Create fun ways of spending time together. Rather than saying, I want to spend time with you, say, oh, why don't we go and do this, when you know you and your partner are going to enjoy that. You're creating time without asking for it. Just saying, I want to spend time together, the natural reaction is, well, what should we do? Do we just sit here? What do we do? It may feel awkward. Actually creating that space is a smarter thing to do. Ashley, I hope that answers your question. Amisha, what according to you is the difference between partner and love? Well, I actually think they're more closely related. I think today, being a partner in crime, having a partner with someone that you value, you understand their goals, they respect yours, it's like partnering up to take on life together. You know, love is something that I think is somewhat so alien to us, so far away, because it requires you to completely devote and extend yourself to serving or helping the other person. Bharati, can love fade over time? I wouldn't say love can fade over time. I would say that lust, infatuation can fade over time. And that's something that we often get excited by at the beginning of relationships. Sandra, I'm a professional baseball player. How can I go about when traveling gets in the way of our relationship and she's scared of being alone? It hurts. I'm lost by on this one. Sandra, that's a tough situation, traveling for work a lot. First recommendation, if she can travel with you now and again, that's a great way of doing it. Make sure she can travel with you, experience it with you as well. If you can't do that, make sure you're spending quality time when you're not traveling. And when you are traveling, create times that you're actually connecting, speaking, FaceTiming, right? These are great things. Use technology for the people that are far away and use time for the people that are close. That's how we need to work. That's how we need to use technology. Remember, the problem is not technology. Vanny, why some people who stayed single for a very long time find it hard to be in a relationship? Because you get used to being single. You quite like it. You appreciate the space it comes from. You appreciate the time it comes from. And you appreciate what you experience during that. The other thing is that you may have stopped trusting people, but you trust yourself. But if you've used it to understand yourself and raise awareness of yourself, you'll also know what matches you better. Right? The more awareness, it's like, I don't want to make it sound this simple, but it's like if you really understand a space, you'll know how to decorate its interior. Otherwise, you'll just pick random furniture. And that's kind of what we do in our own life. We don't understand our space, our inner mental, physical, spiritual space properly. Therefore, we don't know what we're looking for. So if you've used that time of being single to understand yourself and raise your awareness, then you're going to have some great insights on how to move forward. If your partner is not ready for the next step in a relationship, moving in together, do you move on or wait until they're ready? I think you've got to understand, they've got to be able to give you some honesty around time zones, time limits, parameters. And the biggest challenge is that most people aren't even sure for themselves. Therefore, you're demanding something that they don't even have. And them not having it is not a sign that they don't care. They're just not sure. That's the series where you've got to realize how important is that person to you, even if they stay like that. Not how important is that person to you hoping that they're going to change. How important is that person to you even if they stay like that, accepting that they may not change? Would you still rather be with them or would you not? And answering that question is going to give you your answer. I've just been advising someone who's actually been in that situation. If you've loved one person, you've let it go, how do you move on to love another? Can you have more than one true love soulmate in this life? I think there's a question earlier from Shadon about how to get out of infatuation. Sometimes infatuation is so deep, we actually build attachment as opposed to love. It's very normal to be attached to several people in a lifetime. It's very rare to love, like fully love people in a lifetime. Love is when you really care about that person's happiness, when you're tuned in to wanting to make and support that other person's happiness. Attachment, yeah, we're attached to lots of people. Detachment comes when we attach to something better. Detachment comes when we raise our self-awareness about ourselves and realize why someone was wrong for us. That's where real detachment comes from. If you're finding you can't get over an infatuation, you can't get over pain from a previous, it's because you haven't learned yet to accept that that pain was bad for you, that that person was actually creating you more pain than they were pleasure and happiness. So raising your self-awareness about yourself, understanding that a situation or a person wasn't the best for you is the best way of detaching. Hence, you've got to understand, actually, this is what I'm looking for. Understanding more about what you're looking for will help you understand why what you had was not right for you, right? That is critical. I can't stress that point more and more and more. If you're dealing with pain, you're dealing with hurt, it's because you yet haven't accepted that the pain and hurt you were feeling from that individual was bad for you because you haven't yet understood what's good for you. So start with trying to reflect on what you're actually looking for. What type of a person are you looking for? Because that complements who you are, not trying to make that person out to be that person and feeling that pain. Ankit, how do you overcome an intense relationship that ended with no closure? First, get closure if you can. If that's something you need, definitely a way to go. Second of all, like I said, learn about you. Learn about what you can grow from that. Learn about how that's going to advise your decisions in the future. Learning is so underestimated. How many times have you ever reflected on something, actually written out notes on what you learned from it, just like you would from a lecture or a talk or a book? You've got to do that in situations. It allows you to move on. It's powerful. Actually writing down learnings is powerful. Respect other people's priorities. Grow together requires growing individually. Have your conversation around exclusivity of where you are, and financial and emotional stability is a must. Guys, it's been great talking to you today. I hope that you've connected with the theme. I hope that you connected with the topic. I hope you have an amazing day wherever in the world you are, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, where we'll tackle a new topic or theme. I'm at Jay Shetty, IW on Facebook and Twitter, Shetty J on Instagram and Snapchat. Come and find me. I can't wait to talk to you and have this conversation. Lots more. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you very soon. Take care, guys.